consideration of the amendment applicable to the Companies Act 2013. We will consider the amendment one by one. And first, the amendment applicable to the chapter of a dividend. There are the 2 or 3 amendments applicable for a dividend chapter. Let us understand the amendment of section 123 of the Companies Act 2013. Whenever the company wants to declare a dividend out of a reserve, company is required to follow the rule number 3 of a declaration of a dividend rules. And rule number 3 contains the 4 conditions. I hope you remember. At this moment, I am not supposed to tell you or teach you the 4 different rules under the rule number 3, or 4 different conditions under rule number 3. So rule number 3 is not applicable to the 100% of a government company. So there are the 2 points to be considered. First thing is that, sir, what is a 100% government company? A 100% government company means where the entire share capital is held by the central government or a state government or by the more than one state government or by the any of this combination. When the 100% shares are held by the government, the company is known as a government company. It means if the government company want to declare a dividend out of a reserve, they are not required to follow the rule number 3, right? Rest every other company apart from the 100% government company required to follow the provision of a rule number 3 of a declaration of a dividend out of a reserve while declaring the dividend out of a reserve. Amendment number 2. It is an amendment with reference to the section 123 clause 4. As per the section 123 clause 4, after declaration of a dividend, amount must be deposited in a separate bank account. Usually it is in the 5 days, and it is a 5 working days. So once you declare the dividend, remember the dividend here include the final dividend as well as interim dividend. The condition is applicable to all kind of dividends. Section 123(4) says that when you declare the dividend, the amount of a dividend should be transferred to the separate bank account, and from that separate bank account the money will be paid to the concerned shareholder or a member. Remember, the amendment suggests that this is not applicable to the 100% government company. Remember, my dear friend, this is not applicable to the 100% government company. So in a question, in a reference, you are supposed to deal with only the government company, which is not the 100% government company. They are in fact required to follow this condition, and they are required to transfer the dividend amount declared within 5 days into the separate bank account. So I hope that the amendment number 1, 2 will be very much clear to you, and I am proceeding to the amendment number 3. Now usually we know that as per the section 127, the dividend declared will be dispatched, dividend warrant will be dispatched, or dividend will be paid within 30 days to the concerned shareholder or a member. Otherwise the company as well as the 14 directors will be liable. Now dividend, if not claimed within 30 days, dividend if it not claimed within 30 days from the date of a declaration, can be credited or deposited into the account of the member in the case of a Nidhi company. Remember, the exemption has been granted to the Nidhi company because the Nidhi company is having a different objective. The people who invested the money into the Nidhi company, they are also having a different objective. So looking to their objective and for the purpose of providing the facility to the Nidhi company, the said exemption is granted to the needy company. So there are the three amendments under the heading of a dividend. Let us move to the next point, and the next is the amendment applicable for the accounts and the audit. Remember, one such amendment is a CARO 2015, Companies Auditors Report Order or a Regulation. CARO 2015 is applicable to all the companies, including the foreign company. So first I am talking in positive language, and I am talking to which company it is applicable. The CARO 2015 is applicable to all the companies, including the foreign company. Now question is not with regard to the applicability. Earlier the CARO was there, but it was an old CARO under the old Act of 1956. The new CARO was introduced under the label of a CARO 2015, and the CARO 2015 is not applicable to the banking company, insurance company, Section 8 company, small company, and the OPC company. It means it is not applicable to the specific companies. Either they are subject to the specific format or rules or regulation, or they are very much small in terms of operation. But the last point is a very interesting here, my dear friends. The CARO 2015 is not applicable to the private company, but subject to the following three conditions. It means the CARO 2015 may or may not be applicable to the private company. The CARO 2015 is not applicable to the private company if the paid up capital and reserve of this company is not more than 50 lakh rupees. Right? Condition number one. Condition number two, the outstanding loan from the financial institutions or a bank should not be more than 25 lakh rupees. So these all the limits are very important. Almost students forget the limit, and this is how they are not able to get the good marks. And third, if the company has a turnover of 5 crore or more. It means, now you'll ask me, sir, at which point of a time this limit or a threshold should be observed? This limit or a threshold should be observed at any point of a time during the financial year. So if the company attract this limit at any time during the financial year, the company, a private company even, is subject to the provision of a CARO 2015. Let us move to the next point, and it is an amendment under section 129 of the Companies Act. 129 is usually with regard to the circulation of the financial statement, and along with the circulation of the financial statement, the company usually forward the other documents like auditor's report, board of directors report, etc., etc. Right? And we know that the notice of the meeting, along with the report, along with the other documents, all together forwarded to the members 21 days in advance. 21 days in advance from the date of a meeting. This is applicable to all the company. Now the amendment suggests that in the case of a Section 8 company, in the case of a Section 8 companies, that means an association not for a profit, instead of a 21 days, all these reports, documents can be forwarded 14 days in advance. It means Section 129 provide the lesser time period for the purpose of a Section 8 company with respect to the forwarding or a dispatch of the financial statement and other documents. Right? Next amendment is with regard to the Section 129 or with regard to the financial statement. We understand that every company's financial statement shall comply with the accounting standard. And if the company's financial statement or records are not in compliance with the accounting standard, there is a requirement of a justification on the part of a board and the qualification on the part of an auditor. Now, government company which is engaged in a defense production or a defense segment, they are not required to follow the accounting standard 70 number. It is 70, that is, I think it is with regard to the segmental reporting. So the government company which is engaged in the defense sector has been granted the exemption by the government from compliance with the accounting standard 70. The next amendment is with regard to the section 137. As per the section 137, the financial statement and the consolidated financial statement in the case of a holding subsidiary required to be filed with the MCA or with the ROC or online portal. Now, some of the companies are required to file their financial statement in the XBRL form, right? Earlier, the XBRL format was not provided for online filing. So now, the amendment provided that those companies which are required to file their balance sheet or a financial statement or a consolidated financial statement in an XBRL form, they are required to use the e-form AOC for XBRL. Right? Earlier, the form was not there, so it is an amendment. Now, every one of us understand that the auditor can conduct the audit, statutory audit of a specific number of companies. At present, the limit is a 20 company, total 20 company. I am saying a total 20 companies, right? Now, the notification or the amendment provide the relaxation, and it says that while counting the 20 company audit, the audit of a OPC, audit of a small company, audit of a dormant company, and audit of those private companies having the capital less than 100 crores are not included within the meaning of a 20 companies, right? So now this is an amendment with regard to the number of audit, and I think it is very much important for you in an exam as well as in a practical life. Moving the next point is the amendment or change with regard to the board meeting provision, in particular the provision with regard to the quorum. We know that what is a quorum for the purpose of a board meeting, and the provision of a quorum for a board meeting is equally applicable to all types of a company. But now the amendment suggests that for a section 8 company, that is an association, not for a profit, now the quorum should be either a 25% of a total strength or 8 directors, whichever is less. But remember, in any case, it should not be less than the 2 directors. So quorum for any other company, whether a government, a private or public, will be of the same category, but the quorum for a section 8 company will be a different. It is a 25% of a total strength or 8, whichever is a lower. On the other hand, it is on a higher limit. The next amendment is with regard to the provision of appointment of a director. We know that if you want to appoint somebody as a director and nominate somebody as a director, you are required to give the notice. Notice is given to the company. Notice is required to be given along with the deposit of 1 lakh rupees. And then the company will include the matter in the notice or agenda, will be discussed, voting will be carried out, etc. etc. Section 160 has a 2 different kind of amendment here. One is with regard to the needy company. Usually for all the companies, the 1 lakh rupees deposit is required to be given or deposited with the company at the time of nominating the person as a candidature of the director. But a needy company for which the relaxation has been granted, and there the notice of any candidature can be given along with the deposit of 10,000 rupees instead of 1 lakh rupees. So the quite relaxation has been granted in my opinion to the Nidhi company. On the other hand, the section 160 itself is having another amendment. And section 160 is not applicable to the private company, 100% government company, because in the case of a private company, the public fund is not involved. And they may decide how to appoint a director, by what method the directors are to be appointed. Usually in the case of private company, the directors are appointed by their provision of their article. In the case of 100% government company, again the section 160 is not applicable. 100% government company where the section 160 is not applicable, but obvious, because in the case of 100% government company, all the directors are appointed at the pleasure and at the will of the government. So other people do not have any interference. And section 8 company, where the article of the section 8 company provide the appointment of a director by the ballot. Ballot means ballot paper, right? So for the 3 different category of a company, a private company, 100% government company, and section 8 company, section 160, this is with regard to the appointment of a director other than the retired director, is not applicable. The next amendment is with regard to the section 162, right? Section 162 is all about appointment of a director by passing a separate resolution. Section 162 says that if you want to appoint a different person as a directors, A and B, you are required to pass 2 different resolutions, one for A, one for B. Now, the section 162 provide the benefit to the certain category of a company by the exemption, by the amendment. Section 162 is not applicable to the private company. It means the private company can appoint all the directors by passing a single resolution. Number 2, 162, that is the directors by the single resolution, is also not applicable when the appointment of a directors is by the 100% government company. Because in the case of a 100% government company, usually the directors are appointed by the government, central or a state government. So for them it is useless, in my opinion. The next, sorry. The next amendment is with regard to the section 149, independent director. Now, every one of us understand the threshold limit for the purpose of appointment of an independent director. Because every company is not required to appoint the compulsory independent director. The question arose that whether the section 8 company attract any one of this condition, then they are required to appoint the independent director. So the ministry provided the exemption by way of amendment that the provision of an independent director is not applicable to the section 8 company. So even though the section 8 company attract any of the threshold or any of the condition of section 149, they are not required to appoint the independent director, right? Again, section 149 is, if you refer the BAN Act, the section 149 is not only with regard to the independent director. Section 149 also talk about the minimum and maximum number of a director. And minimum number of a director is 1 for a OPC, 2 for a private, and 3 for a public company. Maximum is 15 directors. Remember, even you can appoint more than 15 directors by passing a special resolution. 149 bring the 2 different amendment here with regard to the number of directors. Number 1, provision of a minimum director. Provision of a minimum director is not applicable to the section 8 company, right? Most of the students understand that the section 8 company is a private company. It is not necessary. Section 8 company will be a private or a public, right? At the same time, it can appoint more than 15 directors without passing a special resolution. It means if the section 8 company want to appoint more than 15 directors, it can appoint by passing an ordinary resolution. They don't require to pass a special resolution. The second change with regard to the section 149 is with reference to the maximum number of directors. The provision with regard to the maximum director, that is appointment more than 15 directors by special resolution, is not applicable to the government company. So government company can appoint a more than 15 directors without passing a special resolution. Remember, in the case of a government company, the directors are appointed by the government. So why to go for a formality of passing a special resolution once the government really wanted to appoint by the order or by the direction? So these are the amendments with regard to the section 149. Next amendment is section 163. Section 163 is all about the appointment of a director by the proportionate representation. Remember, the section 163 is not applicable to the 100% government company, because in the case of 100% government company, government used to change the directors according to their wish and desire. So there is no requirement of following the appointment of a director by the proportionate representation. The next amendment is very interesting, and it is with regard to the section 184 clause 2 of the Companies Act. Section 184 clause 2 of the Companies Act is on a disclosure of the interest. Right? Now we understand that every director who is interested, whether directly or indirectly, into any contract, any arrangement, is required to disclose his interest. 184 subclause 2 is applicable to the private company except, now this is very interesting, except interested director in the case of private company may participate in the board meeting but after the disclosure of his interest. In case of other company where the directors happen to be the interested, he or they cannot participate into the board meeting. He cannot vote at the board meeting. Same way, section 184 clause 2 is applicable in a similar way to the section 8 company only if the related party transaction entered into by the section 8 company is more than 1 lakh rupees, or the contract value of the related party transaction is exceed than the rupees 1 lakh. There, the director are required to disclose the interest in the case of a section 8 company, right? The next amendment is with regard to the section 185. Section 185 is with regard to the loan to the directors. Section 185 is a very interesting and mutable section, having a lot of questions. Loan to the directors are usually applicable, or section 185 is usually applicable to all the companies, right? But now this amendment says that section 185 is not applicable to the private company. A private company in whose capital the other body corporate do not have an investment. Simply a private company where all the members are the individual, and the borrowing from the bank, the financial institutions and the body corporate is less than twice of its paid up capital and the reserve, or 50 crore whichever is low, right? Number 3, there's such a private company which has borrowed any amount has not made the default for such a borrowing. If all these 3 conditions are satisfied, then the private company can provide a loan to the director, and for such a kind of a private company, section 185 is not applicable. Section 185 is not applicable to the government company if it has obtained the prior approval of the department subject to which the government company is operating, or state government or central government, etc. And section 185 is not applicable to the Nidhi company, right? It is not applicable to the Nidhi company. If the loan given to the directors or his relative is in their capacity as a member, that means if the director is a member, Nidhi company can provide a loan to the member, and it is disclosed in the annual accounts of the Nidhi company. If this condition is satisfied, the Nidhi company can also provide a loan to the debtor. The next amendment is with regard to the related party transaction, right? We know that in the case of a related party transaction, those members who are interested, they cannot participate or they cannot vote at the general meeting at which the related party transaction is proposed to be approved or placed before the meeting for approval. Interested member can participate and vote. Now the amendment says that interested member can participate and vote. Both the things are allowed at the general meeting after disclosure of his interest. But in the case of a private company, when the government company is entering into the related party transaction with the another government company, and if it is an unlisted government company with the prior approval of the government. So if any of this category of a company is entering into the related party transaction, the member can participate and vote after the disclosure of his interest. The next amendment is with regard to the section 186 of the Companies Act. Section 186 is with regard to the intercorporate loan and investment. That means the loan, investment, guarantee, security provided by one company to the another company. Remember, the section 186 were allowed not to be applicable to the number of companies and for a number of transactions. Now in that list, the two more companies are added. Section 186 is not applicable to the government company if the same government company is engaged in the defense production, right? And number two, if it is an unlisted company, unlisted government company, and if it has obtained the prior permission of the department, a ministry, a government, subject to which or under whose control it is operating. So section 186 is not applicable to the government companies subject to certain condition. The next amendment is section 196 clause 4 and the clause 5. Section 196 clause 4 and the clause 5 is not applicable to the government company and the private company. Section 196 clause 4 says that about the method of appointment of an MD or a full-time director, etc. It says that the appointment of MD or a full-time director is usually first approved by the board of directors, subject to the approval of the shareholders at their general meeting, and assuming that if it is within the schedule, then it doesn't require the central government permission. Now the resolution passed at the shareholders meeting should provide the specific notice, details about the managerial personnel. Now this is not applicable to the government company and private company. It means the government company and the private companies can appoint their managerial personnel, for example MD, full-time director, etc., according to the provision of their article. And they don't require to follow the procedure or a provision of a section 196 sub clause 4 and 196 clause 5. Entire section 197 is not applicable to the government company. The section 197 is with regard to the managerial remuneration. So, in the case of a government company, but obvious, the remuneration is determined by the government itself. When the government appoints the managerial personnel on the board of a company, right? So these are the amendments applicable for the Companies Act 2013. Let us understand the amendment applicable for allied laws for CA final May 2016 and subsequent examination. The two amendments are there under the Banking Regulation Act. The first such amendment is that the RBI, while the notification has allowed, now the banking company can issue the preferences but subject to the RBI guideline. Earlier, the banking company can only issue the equity share. Now the banking company can issue the preferences subject to the RBI guideline. Amendment number 2. Usually the banking company cannot provide a loan to its director or without the permission of RBI to the director. Now the banking company can provide a loan to the CEO, that is a Chief Executive Officer or a wartime director of the banking company without the prior approval of the RBI. But for doing so, or to do so, the banking company has to comply with the following 3 conditions. Condition number 1, it should be as per the part of the remuneration and the employment policy which a company or a banking company is following with other employee, right? Number 2, such a loan should have been approved by the board of director or by the audit committee. Number 3, the loan should not be free. Loan should be having with the interest. Rate of interest should not be less than what the bank company is charging the rate of interest from the others. So if the 3 conditions are satisfied, the banking company without the approval of the RBI provide a loan to the Chief Executive Officer or full-time director. The next amendment is with regard to the SEBI guideline, and it is under the regulation number 10, fast track issue. For the fast track issue, earlier the market capitalization value or amount was different. The amendment limit says that the average market capitalization of a public shareholding should be at least rupees 1000 crore in the case of public issue and 250 crore in the case of a right issue. So, if the company, if it is coming with the public issue, or say for example coming with the right issue, if it is having this much of a market capitalized shareholding, then they are eligible for the purpose of a fast track issue. The next amendment is under the FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. And the limit provided under the current account transaction, subject to the approval or permission of RBI, has been drastically changed. Earlier, for a different transaction, different amount was specified. For example, for a gift, the resident individual can withdraw a $5,000 US earlier for the purpose of giving a gift to his relative or someone who is an NRI or out of a country. So all this transaction related with the gift, related with the donation, related with the business visit, right, related with the immigration, with the medical treatment, right, all these transactions which are related with the current account transaction now considered at par, and for all of them a common limit has been set, and it is 2.5 lakh US dollar per year, that is a financial year. So for any current account transaction which require the permission of RBI, now the limit is US dollar 2.5 lakh per financial year. Up to this limit, for all the transaction, you don't require to get the approval of RBI. But any other transaction is going beyond this limit, 2.5 lakh US dollar, then you require the approval of the RBI. So these are the amendments, major amendments, applicable amendments to your examination for May 2016 and onward examination. Thank you very much and wish you all the best for your examination.